Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Aquarium Online Academy. My name is Karina, and I'm so excited to be with you all here today, talking about one of my very favorite animals. But before we get into that, a couple of quick things. Not only am I here to be telling you all about these amazing animals, but also behind the screen is my friend Sarah, and she's going to be controlling all the magic that you see behind me here today. And we also want you to participate. So if you are at home watching on today, which is July 31st at 2 p.m., 2025, you can actually text us at this number right here on the screen. That's 562-286-1838. You're welcome to text that number, and Sarah's going to be checking those. You're welcome to ask us questions, to answer questions if I ask them to you, make observations with me, and share that with us. Anything you'd like to tell us, we'd love to have. So go ahead and text that number if you'd like to interact. And if you are not watching this episode of AOA at that time on July 31st at 2 p.m., 2025, then you can go ahead and email us at this email live@aop.org, and we will be able to respond if you do have questions about the episode or anything ocean related. So once again, thank you so much for joining us today. Please feel free to ask us questions if you have them. And without further ado, let's get started. Now, we right here are looking at a beautiful habitat that we have here at the aquarium. This is our blue cavern habitat, and it is gorgeous. It is modeled after a dive site that's right off our coast here in Long Beach, and it's beautiful. And it's actually where we can sometimes find some of the animals that we are going to be talking about today. Now, we are scientists today, and we are going to be using our eyes to make observations about the world around us, and about one animal in particular. But before we move on to that, I kind of want to warm up our brains with the scene behind us here. So I'm going to step off screen and I'm going to ask you to make some observations. Now, you can tell me what you see. You can text us at that number and let us know if there's anything that jumps out to you. I'll just give you about 30 seconds. Make some observations. See what you notice. Now, in case you've never heard that term before, to make an observation, all you got to do is look at something and do your best to describe it. So let's see what we can come up with. All right, now I know for me, the very first thing that I notice in this beautiful habitat is the kelp. As you can see, there's kelp right behind me over in this area as well. There's kelp all throughout this environment. There's also lots of rocks. That's kind of the base of the kelp that we're seeing here. This is a kelp forest habitat, so it makes sense that there's both of those things. And of course, there's loads of fish, a bunch of different types of fishes, and I even saw I believe I saw a really, really big fish swim by a minute ago. We'll probably see it again. I also saw some sharks swimming by that live here in this habitat. And making those observations is a really great way to kind of warm up what we're going to be doing today. Oh, that was one big fish. It's actually quite small, but very close to the camera. If you do want to tune in to any of these, exhibit videos that we see here, you're welcome to. If you tune in to explore.org, you can find a lot of our exhibits on that website, and you can watch these live streams any second of the day. We always have these live streams up, and this is what I would see if I walked out of the studio and around the corner. It's all happening live. Very amazing. So we kind of now know how to make an observation, right? How to look at something the way that a scientist would. So let's bring up our animal today that we are going to be talking about. I'll step off camera. Can anyone tell me what we're looking at here? Drum roll, please. This is an octopus. Today we are going to be talking about octopuses. Now, I say octopuses, a lot of people might be like, octopuses? I thought it was octopi. What's the plural? Great question. It's whatever you want it to be. Whatever you say goes, right? Whatever we all say, whatever we can all agree on, octopuses, octopi, octopus, singular, whatever we can all agree on, that's what works. Now, this octopus here is a two-spot octopus, one of the ones that we can find actually right here off of our coast here in Southern California. They live in kind of colder water habitats, but these are incredible animals. All octopuses are. They are amazing, and they are part of a very special family called mollusca. They are part of the mollusk family. Some other mollusks include things like clams, things like snails, and of course octopuses here. But there's a couple of things, those other two animals that I named, the clams and the snails, that these octopuses don't have. Can anybody tell me what is something that a snail and a clam has that an octopus doesn't have? I'll let you look at a picture of it again without me blocking it. But what do you think those animals have that an octopus clearly doesn't? Well, my friends, clams and snails, those are two animals that have shells. Now, this animal here does not have a shell. It also does not have a backbone, same as those other animals. And that makes it something we call an invertebrate. But this is a very special invertebrate because it looks like it has no outer protection, nothing else that is going to help it to survive out there in a habitat where they might be trying, or that something might be trying to eat it, right? So, this is a really great picture of one of my favorite snails. It's called a turban snail. And these guys are just so cute. This is part of that family too, that mollusk family. And it has that big shell that it can kind of hide under and crawl back into, right? It grows that shell itself. Very, very remarkable if you ask me. But it's quite amazing that it has that protection. And our octopuses, they do not have that protection. There's no shell. I would imagine if it had one, it would be kind of over in its head area, but it does not have a shell. So, what in the world is that, right? This is actually a whole other part of that mollusk family called a cephalopod. Now, a cephalopod, it's a really big word. Actually, let me go ahead and spell it out for us. It's a crazy word, and let's learn about it together. Now, I'll take you over to my document camera, and this is how we're going to learn how to spell this crazy word and kind of what it means. Cephalopod. Quite possibly one of the biggest words there is. Now, when you're breaking down this word, we want to think of a couple different things. We learn about root words and prefixes and suffixes and all that kind of stuff. So let's start there. Let's start actually at the end of the word. I'll start with this part right here. It says pod. Now, anybody, when you think of something that has the ending pod, can anyone think of something that in their everyday life that has that same suffix? Maybe something that we're using here in the studio. Something you can use to take pictures on. Now, we might think of the word camera. Now, if you're holding up a camera so that you don't have to, take a selfie, if you're holding up a camera with something other than your arms, you might be using something called a tripod. Now, a tripod has three, so tri, of something at the bottom, and pod actually means legs or foot, right? So right here, I'll put foot because for a tripod it has 3 feet or 3 legs. Okay, now we have foot. Well, obviously we know an octopus is not just a foot. So let's move on to the front half of this word. Now this is Latin, so we're not even going to go there. We're going to focus on this portion of the word here, halo. Now if you were wearing a halo, where exactly do you think that you would put it? If you were going to put a halo on your body, where would you put it? I know. I would probably put it on my head. I would say that I would put it on my head. Let me go ahead and zoom out real quick. Hopefully you can see it. I want to make sure you can see all the things I'm writing. There we go. So, if I was going to put a halo on my head, I'd put it on my head. If I was going to put a halo on my body, I'd put it on my head. So that's kind of how we break down this word cephalopod. It means a head-footed animal. And those animals that are head-footed are octopuses. Now I'll go ahead and erase this and show you kind of the body plan of these animals. Now we saw a picture of an octopus just a moment ago. Let me go ahead and draw that for you. Now here's a person. My best drawing of a person I could do. And we have our head right here. Here's our head. Here's our body. And here's our feet, right? We have 2 feet, definitely different than an octopus, right? Head, body, feet. But if you were to think about an octopus, or maybe even a different type of cephalopod that's related to an octopus, this is kind of more what that body would look like. Totally different. We'll start again with the head. Head. And then we got their feet. Or we can call it other things as well. I don't think that's enough. There we go. Feet. And then their body is kind of over here. It's kind of a silly drawing. Maybe a little bit more bulbous, right? But this is the entirety of their body. So it's very, very different than us, kind of a crazy body plan, and that's actually why they are called cephalopods, because their head is directly connected to the rest of their body or to their feet. Totally different than us, quite opposite, but let's go ahead and look back at another picture of an octopus. And now that we know what a cephalopod is, we can start to make some observations, maybe talk about some of the amazing things that an octopus can do, maybe some amazing things about an octopus. Now, I did just ask Sarah to put up a picture of an octopus, but I don't know if you can see it. This one's kind of hard. This one we have to zoom in real carefully, figure out where that outline of that octopus would be, because they are really good at hiding. Super, super good at camouflaging in their environment. Now, the first thing that I notice about this picture, or about the octopus itself, is where its eye is. So its eye is kind of up here in this region, right here. This is its eyeball. Its other eyeball is on the other side of its head. And this is another picture of a two-spot octopus, but in a camouflaged way. Now, these animals, since they don't have that hard shell, they need to do something in order to protect themselves. And one of the things that they are able to do is camouflage. So they have these things all over their bodies called chromatophores. And those are specialized cells that are full of pigment, full of color. And they can actually open and close those cells in order to change the color of their skin all over their body. Now, they're also even able to have a different type of cell that can change the texture of their body. It's something that's so incredible that these octopuses can do. They're world class at it. They're amazing. We actually have a video. I was waiting for this one. I'll step off screen. Tell me what you see. We have a red octopus. What? It's not red anymore. Wow. Look at that. Pretty incredible that they're able to do that. And then they can do it in in a split second. It's amazing. As you're watching this video, you can really tell that it takes less than a second to make all these changes all over their body. So that's one of the ways that they're able to camouflage in their environment. Now, one of the other amazing things that you might be able to notice in this video is the way that they are able to change shape. They can move around, they can swim, as you saw in the first half of the video that we're showing here. They can swim, kind of elongate their body, and then they can get a lot smaller and fit into little crevices like we're seeing here. There's that long section of its body where they're swimming throughout the water. They sit down on a rock, and then they kind of crunch up and curl up. Now, one of the reasons that they're able to do that is because they have no bones in their body. Here's another video. Let's see it. Let's watch it. This is a great video of how we can see these octopuses moving around. I don't even see it. Oh, there it is. Really, really remarkable. These animals are just simply incredible. And they have the most amazing abilities to camouflage, right? I simply didn't even see it. I don't know how the person taking this video did, but amazing work. These octopuses, they can move around in their habitat. They will sometimes swim like we saw in that clip. They will sometimes crawl. They will sometimes hide into really tight corners, and they can get into really small spaces. Now, these animals, like I said, they have no bones. They have no hard shell, so they can really squeeze into a really small surface area. Now, the only limitation to that, to how small they can get, is by something they have on the underside of their body, which is, well, I think we have a picture. I'm going to put up a picture, and you tell me if you can see anything in there that might be a little bit harder. Well, this is actually just amazing, a really great video. Maybe we'll have to get back to what I was getting to in a moment, because this is just incredible. Now, as we can see here, the underside of its body, it has all these suction cups that help them to move around. These suction cups are incredible. And in the middle of these suction cups is their mouth. Now, their mouth is the only hard part in their whole body, and it is something that we call a beak. Now, I actually have a sample of a real beak, not from one of these octopuses. This one that we're seeing right here is a giant Pacific octopus. I have a beak of a type of squid, so I can show you over here, once again on my document camera, what that beak looks like. This is that beak. How crazy does that look? Now this looks a lot like a bird beak or like a parrot beak to me. It has a one half here and one half here, and it can actually open and close. There's a muscle on the inside that can contract it. And so these octopuses that are huge, they can actually squeeze into tiny, tiny, tiny crevices that are only this size, because this is the only hard part they have on their entire body. Amazing, right? Now let's go back to looking at that video where we can see all those suction cups on the octopus here, because I just can't get away talking about octopuses and not mentioning anything about their suction cups, because they're ridiculously amazing. So as you can see, like I said, this was as I was saying, this is a giant Pacific octopus, and they have a lot of arms, right? They have 8 arms, but they have up to 250 suction cups on each one of their arms. What? That means they have about 2,000 suction cups on their body, which is crazy, right? Now, these suction cups, they're so incredibly special. They not only do they help them to stick, right? They can move around in their environment, pick things up in their environment, move rocks, pick up food, things like that, but they actually also have touch and taste receptors on these suction cups, which is just ridiculous. It's mind blowing. Now, we saw that their mouth isn't like a tongue like ours, where our taste receptors are. It's just a beak. So they don't have taste receptors in their mouth. Instead, they taste with their arms. Now, imagine if you had the ability to taste with your arms. Would be kind of crazy, right? I would definitely be watching what I touch a little bit more. But these octopuses, they have those suction cups all up and down their arms, and they are able to move around and grip things really, really well. Now, one of the other things that is incredible about their arms, something that maybe we've heard before, is that there's a brain in each one. I'm gonna see if is that a myth? Has anybody heard that before? What do we think? Believe it or not, there are actually some, nervous system in each brain. So it's almost like having, or in each, excuse me, in each arm, it's almost like having a little mini brain in every single arm. Because these octopuses, they can move each arm independently. They can also even move their suction cups independently. I'll step off screen because if you look closely, you can tell not only are the arms look like they're kind of going willy nilly, but the suction cups do as well. They move in whatever way they seem like they need to. Let's see. Now, if you can tell that these suction cups are they have a mind of their own, and it's true. Their arms, like I said, they have like a miniature brain in each one of those arms. And then in the center of their body, around in that head area, they have a brain. It's their main brain. It's a little bit bigger, but it is almost like these animals have 9 brains, which is incredible. Now, if we can, I think we see a question here. Someone was asking, what kind of octopus was in this video here? Well, great question. I believe this might be a day octopus. It looks like it's quite big. Might also be a giant Pacific octopus, but if I had to guess, it was one of those two, likely a day octopus. Pretty incredible stuff, these animals. Whatever kind of octopus it is, it's an awesome one, I can tell you that for sure. All right. Now, let's see, what were we talking about? We were talking about their brains, right? Their 9 brains that they have all over their body. We also talked about that beak that's kind of in the center of their body and how they're able to use that beak not to taste, but actually to rip things open. I mentioned it's the only hard part of their body, and so that's the only thing they really have to squeeze into if they're trying to get into tight crevices and things like that. But the way that they use their beak is the same way that a parrot would use its beak, right? They will actually rip open their food and make little tiny bites And then once they swallow it, that esophagus travels through their head and into their body. So their brain, this is crazy, their brain is practically donut shaped because that esophagus and some of their other organs have to go right through it so that the food can get into their stomach. Now you might be wondering, okay, so I know it has a beak, I know it's able to take tiny little pieces out of its food, but what exactly are these animals eating? Great question. I know you were thinking it. Now these giant Pacific octopuses, to be exact, they're able to eat some bigger animals. They can eat things like big crabs, big clams, big shrimp, big lobsters, things with those harder shells. Sometimes even, believe me when I say, there's even been accounts of these animals eating birds, which is crazy. Now, sometimes birds eat smaller octopuses, but there has been an account of a giant Pacific octopus eating a bird, which is nuts. Right? But they are able to eat those kinds of things. And you might be wondering, well, what eats them? Why? What about these animals? Like, what is their predator out there in the ocean? Well, they're living in most oceans. They can live right here off of our coast, maybe even across the Pacific, like our giant Pacific octopus here, maybe even all the way on the other side of the world from us, so over in those tropical areas as well. They live all over the place. So their predators are definitely going to vary depending on which type of octopus it is, but they can be eaten by things like birds if they're in shallower habitats. They can be eaten by things like stingrays. They can be eaten by things like sharks. Even seals or sea lions sometimes will eat on these, or snack on these animals. But nonetheless, they do have some pretty amazing defenses. Now, we mentioned how they are able to camouflage in their habitat. There's actually something else they can do in order to evade predators too. Now, I think we might have a video or some evidence of what I'm referring to here. So I'm going to step off screen. We're going to pull that up and we're going to watch what we have. Now, I do want to remind you, you're welcome to continue asking those questions. We did get that one in, and we're inviting so many more. So please keep asking questions. That's what we're here for. It's Ask a Scientist, right? So come on, ask a scientist. I'm going to go ahead and step off screen, and let's see if we can have that play. I want you to watch this video and tell me what you see. Whoa. Whoa. Do we see that? Now, not only is this octopus demonstrating how it's able to fit into really tight spaces, we can also see those incredible suction cups running up and down its entire arm. We can even see some of that color changing ability. But we saw something kind of in the beginning there just a moment ago. And that's what I'm referring to. One of those other types of defense mechanisms. There it is. Something you may have heard an octopus be able to do before, and that is inking. This octopus just let out a bunch of ink. Now it's kind of starting to disperse into the water now, but that ink is an incredible line of defense for these animals. Now, if a predator, imagine you're a predator and you're sneaking up on an octopus trying to get a yummy snack, and then poof, there's just a big cloud of ink in your face. You're going to get all confused, all discombobulated. You're going to go, wow, what's going on? And the octopus is going to be able to make its escape. And that's exactly why they ink. They do it to confuse their predators and give them enough time to get away. Or maybe give them enough time to camouflage or hide by something nearby. Now, not only does this ink confuse the predator because it's just a big black cloud, and it's hard for these ocean animals to see through that. It's hard for any animal to be able to see through that. But it also might help distract its scent, right? If I'm looking for an octopus, if I'm sniffing around to see if I can find an octopus, and then it's just a big puffy cloud of ink in my face, I know I'd be distracted, not only because of the color and what I'm seeing, but also because of the scent. Now, this is such a good video. I'm going to step off screen again, see if we can watch it all the way through one more time, just because it's so great. All right. Well, as you can tell, this is just a remarkable video that we have here. Now, these octopuses are some of my favorite animals. They're incredibly smart. They can use these amazing defense mechanisms. And like I said, they have basically 9 brains, right? 8 that are kind of mini brains, and then one main one in their head. But that means they're super, super smart with all that brain, right? Now we have, you may have heard lots of stories about octopuses, especially in the aquarium trade. Here at aquariums, they can be a little mischievous, but they're incredibly smart. I believe here at our aquarium, we actually even have these enrichment objects for them. So sometimes when we're taking care of an octopus or taking care of any animal out there that would be living in the ocean, and when we have them here at aquariums, we want to give something to them that's going to stimulate their brain, make them feel like they are, solving problems and going through exercises, kind of the ways that they would have to use their brains out there in nature. Now, some of the things that we do here for enrichment are a little bit funny. We can put food inside of objects and then give them to our octopuses and see how they respond. So I actually have an enrichment item that Sarah showed me before this that really cracked me up, and we're going to show it on the screen here. This is just hilarious. So believe it or not, this is one of those enrichment items. This is one of those Mr. Potato Head toys with crazy decorations all over it. And there's food. Actually, in the back of the Mr. Potato Head, they will put things like crab or clam or fish, things like that. And then they will give it to the octopus. I believe this one here looks like it's in our giant Pacific octopus tank, who at this time might have been Godzilla or it might have been one of our other ones. Right now, our giant Pacific octopus, their name is Ghost or Ghost Pepper. But as you can see, there is a little, well, big tentacle wrapping around Mr. Potato Head, ready to get the food. But this is just one of the funny ways that we help to enrich the octopus's mind here at the aquarium. Now, there's other things that we do, maybe we actually even have a video of how these octopuses are able to solve these problems or, get into these enrichment objects in order to find food. And I believe we do have one of those videos, and it might be the last thing that we're able to see today before we do our recap. But I just love watching these videos. Hopefully, you do as well. Once again, if you do have questions, let us know. Text us those questions if you're watching us live. Email us those questions as well. But let's watch this video. This is an incredible one. Let's watch it. This one here is a red octopus getting inside of a little puzzle box. Now, this is on our YouTube channel right now, and we are, we have this stuff up for you to go ahead and watch after this as well. This is one of our aquarists that we had. JJ is an incredible aquarist and works with these animals amongst some of the other aquarists that we have here, the people who take care of these animals. They're part of our husbandry team, and they do incredible and awesome work. And as you can see here, the little red octopus is checking out what's inside that box, using those arms and those suction cups on those arms to basically taste and feel around and then get to the prize inside, which I think in this case was a little piece of shrimp. How awesome is that? Pretty amazing. They are amazing creatures. Now, I think that was a really good video for us to end off on. I had so much fun exploring this animal with you here today. If you do have any other questions, please let us know. But since we did get to talk about all these things, I'll remind you all what we learned today. We learned that these animals, they are an invertebrate, right? An animal that has no bones. They are a mollusk, part of that family, like clams and snails, and squid, right in the same family as squid. Mollusks are, but they have no shell. Instead, they are also, not only are they a mollusk, but they are a cephalopod as well, an animal that is head-footed, right? All these feet down here that I'm blocking. But this is a head-footed animal. It has a beak, kind of like a bird, that can help it to squeeze into tight spaces. It has 8 arms, a miniature brain in each one. They're very, very smart, able to solve problems. They use that beak to rip open to hard-shelled items like crabs and clams and things like that. And of course, they can change color and ink as a defense mechanism. So these are just simply amazing creatures that we have here at the aquarium and that we have here in our ocean backyard and even thousands of miles away in the amazing ocean that we have here on Earth. Now, it looks like it actually looks like we have one other question before we leave here for today. Someone is asking how many species of octopuses there are. Now, here at the aquarium, I believe we have three different types of species of octopuses, but out there in the big blue ocean, there is about 300 species of octopuses that call the ocean home. Really incredible, really vast species, and just an amazing animal altogether. Now, I hope you had so much fun learning about octopuses today with me. I know I did. Once again, if you have questions, let us know. Since our live is ending, you're welcome to go ahead and email those questions at live@lbaop.org. But I do want to say thank you so much for joining us. Once again, my name is Karina, and I had a blast teaching you all. And have a great rest of your day, everyone. Thank you again.